Hi guys, welcome back to Battle with Ola. This is Mujala Oluwa and I'm super thrilled to be here once again. Today we want to talk about a very simple and very important topic in law. Delegatus non-potest delegare. A quick background. So I was on a fact-finding panel and we had found that someone who was by law mandated or delegated on behalf of his principal or on behalf of his employer to do something had further delegated it to another person who was almost completely unconnected to his employer or the establishment, and then it had boomeranged because there were some infractions and some illegalities that had come out of that delegation, and each person was trying to pass the blame to the other. And then it came to me in that moment, this is a case of Delegatus non-potest delegare. So I said, let's talk about that on the channel next. This is Mujala Oluwa. For those who are just joining, please like the video. Please leave comments in the comment section. Continue the conversation after seeing the video. And by all means, subscribe to this channel and bring your friends and all and sundry. So I want to make a shout out to everyone that's been following us, that's been giving us positive feedback. We're very grateful for all feedback, whatever color you have painted them. But I'm much more grateful, for people who give feedback that shows that they find value, implementable value, if there's a word like that, in what we're doing. That is, they are using what they are watching on the channel in their everyday life, in their law practice, in their studies, and it's working for them. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. Such is the comment I got, on allocutors, which is a video that I made about 3 years ago. Please watch it if you haven't. I've gotten very positive and very heartwarming feedback on that particular video. So today, let's talk about delegation of powers. It's mostly applicable or emanates from the legislature and acts of the legislature. Essentially, Delegatus non-potest delegare is not, an elaborate concept on its own, or a rule of law that we will now begin to espouse and espouse. It's a very simple and basic rule of interpretation of legislation. That is, when there's a problem with how a law has been applied, or how powers derived from a particular legislation have been applied or interpreted, we can bring in this rule of interpretation just to shed light on it without more. So Delegatus non-potest delegare. As you know, on the channel, we break things down into Latin as much as possible because Latin is the mother language, and I had happened to study Latin in school. So delegatus is the delegated person. That's the delegate. Non-potest means has no power. Delegare, to delegate. Delegare is the non-conjugated, verb to delegate. So essentially, when we say Delegatus non-potest delegare, we are saying a delegate cannot further delegate. A delegate cannot subdelegate. It's very simple. Essentially, a delegate cannot confer responsibility cast on him by legislation on a different or a third party, a different entity, except the law that empowers him, that delegates him, expressly permits such further delegation. For instance, in an agency, there's the principal and the agent. Now, an agent is to act on behalf of his principal and deal with the principal's property in real estate, for instance, now, as the principal would deal with it. Now, the agent cannot get a sub-agent to deal with the property on behalf of his principal, except there's an agreement, a rule of law, a stipulation, a clear-cut, provision, allowing him to do such. That's just an example. That's not the extent of it. So it is usually applied in interpreting legislative powers conferred on public servants, and usually it is used to bring about checks and balances. So, for instance, if a particular law has empowered the public servant to do one thing or the other in the public administration, he cannot further delegate that power except there's an express permission or provision that it can do so. For instance, if a law has said that the MD of an agency or the chairman of an agency is to sign all employment letters or is to employ and issue employment letters, if that law does not say, that establishing law, for instance, does not say that he can delegate people to do this, if he employs or if another person signs an employee's employment letter, it could be a ground for the nullity or the invalidity of that employment letter because it was not signed by the person who has been expressly conferred with the powers to employ and to sign employment letters. That's the easiest way for you to understand it. I don't want us to belabor it because it is not a concept on its own. It's rather, an interpretative or an interpretation aid, to help understand and construe legislation properly. So it just means a delegate cannot further delegate. So like in the case that I had spoken about, the establishing law, that gave powers to the person in question to do certain acts did not say that it can further delegate it. It expressly said, oh, the person occupying this post is to do so and so. So by delegating that act, he has committed an infraction because a delegate cannot further delegate his own powers except the root law or the root act conferring him with the powers make way or gives leeway for him to delegate such power, or except it can be safely and legally implied that such delegation is permitted by the root law. For decided cases, you can check Attorney General of Kaduna State and Assam. You can check Unipetrol and Edo State Board of Internal Revenue, and you can check GABA and FCSC. That's a 1988 case. So it's a long-standing rule. So where a delegate delegates further, that will be ultra vires or ultra vires. That is, it will be acting outside of its own powers by further delegating. It is just a rule of construction of statutes, and it helps to give meaning to powers conferred on a delegate. A delegate here just means, a representative, someone that's been conferred with the powers, with the responsibility and duties to do one thing or the other. I hope you understand. I hope it's clear. Let's continue the conversation in the comment section. And don't forget that if you have peculiar legal challenges that you would like to speak to a lawyer about and get tailored legal solutions to, you can book a consultation session, a paid consultation session with the link in the description box. I'll see you in my very next video. Don't forget to subscribe and bring more people to Battle with Allah. To-dos.